Hello, friends. Welcome to Manitowoc Cooperative Ministry Daily Devotions. I'm Pastor Judine Duerwaechter, co-pastor with the MCM, and today I'm going to bring you a daily devotion on Psalm 80, and it has some beautiful garden imagery in it, so I thought that I'd bring it to you from my garden, from the backyard of my patio. So enjoy some of the garden imageries that you see around me, and let's take a look at what Psalm 80 might do and inspire for us today. I'll read a few selected verses, and if you joined me for Psalm 79, there's a little similarity going on here with Psalm 80 as well. Give ear, O shepherd of Israel, you who lead Joseph like a flock. Stir up your might and come to save us. Restore us, O God. Let your face shine that we too may be saved. O Lord God of hosts, how long will you be angry with your people's prayers? You brought a vine out of Egypt. You drove out the nations and planted it. You cleared the ground for it. It took deep root and filled the land. The mountains were covered with its shade, the mighty cedars with its branches. It sent out its branches to the sea and its shoots to the rivers. Why then have you broken down its walls, so that all who pass along the way pluck its fruit? The boar from the forest ravages it, and all that move in the field feed on it. Restore us, O God, God of hosts. Let your face shine that we may be saved. So again, really nice imagery, of the garden there, right? Again, if you join me for Psalm 79, Jerusalem or Israel basically is in this real state of demoralization, destruction, and that in Psalm 80 is continuing. They remain in dire straits, but they also remain calling upon God to come and be their shepherd, as you heard in the very first verse, that metaphor of God as the leader of the flock. And they're calling upon God to come and shepherd them and tend to them, knowing that they need that guidance, so to speak. So again, much like 79, there was beautiful poetic imagery in Psalm 79. And then again, we've got real specific imagery here in Psalm 80, but you heard it moved into then, as I mentioned, a gardening image where Israel, and maybe you can look at this for yourself now, Israel being you, that Israel is likened to a vine, and this vine has been planted by God with such love, you heard him say. You took care to nurture the soil and put it in the ground just right, and you tended it and you took care of it, and it grew big and strong and beautiful. It branched out over the waters, and now you have stopped all that and you've left it go unprotected, and it's become prey for the passersby to eat of its fruit and devour it. I mean, I liken it to those doggone little bunny rabbits in my backyard. I plant my beautiful chrysanthemums or I plant my delphiniums, and the next morning I get up and everything is eaten down to the core. They've devoured, the fruit of the plant. So while I got smart, of course, and I made a little fence around it. And the psalmist today too talks about how the walls that once protected it have been broken down, and the people are scared because they are, of course, left vulnerable. And then we heard the specific mention, of the wild boar that's going to come in, and that wild boar is linked to being, of course, the enemy, given boars would be seen as an animal that is unclean to the Israelites. They chew their cud and they have the cloven hooves. So that, obviously was referring to the enemy. So with that, we hear that the people, and again, consider this for yourself, are left hungry, humiliated. A lot of that language in Psalm 79 from the other day. They're humiliated, embarrassed, and feel completely abandoned. So the psalmist begs God to please give power to the chosen religious leaders. There was some language in there about the good one at your right hand, God, to give power to these religious leaders. And we promise that we're going to follow what it is that you're saying through them, and we'll do better in the future. So, we don't give a ton of credence to the religious leaders the way that the Hebrews gave credence to the prophets. But nonetheless, we have very wonderful religious leaders. We have wonderful public figure leaders as well. And then, of course, it goes the opposite way for both of them. And I think that our 21st century culture has learned to tap into the God that is within ourselves and discern our own spiritual growth, but to do that again in relationship with spiritual leaders. So we've got the psalmist again with the people of Israel in this desperate state. And you knew and have heard how they do believe that God is angry with them and punishes them for having wandered away from God. And even, we don't believe that in the Christian scriptures, that God is a punishing and angry God. That's Jesus took all of that away for the most part, and we are left with a God of complete mercy and compassion because all is forgiven. But even with that Old Testament God in the midst of, them feeling like God is judging them and angry with them, the psalmist does know that this God also has the capacity of mercy. The psalmist absolutely knows that. And that what is required for them to receive God's mercy is their humility. And for the most part, that's true for us today, too. We have to shrink ourselves, our ego selves. We have to set that down or set that aside and remember that what is abundant and blessed for us in life comes to us and through us from a God of love, a God of mercy, and that we simply need to get out of the way. So we can share that in common with the psalmist from the ancient times, that they seem to need to have a heart of humility. They need to confess, and then they can be assured. And it's true again for us today. We can be assured that God will restore us, as verse 19 spoke about, and that God's face will shine upon us and we will be saved, again, as verse 19 speaks again. It's the same for us today. And just to remember the steps to be humble, to confess your need, and know that whenever you ask, it is in fact given. Trust, believe, and simply get out of God's way and let God love you. I hope this was helpful. I'll see you next time for Psalm 81, and have a blessed day, and remember to live to love.